looking for his first goal of the series. Scores!
You're listening to Life After the Game. Here's your host, Darcy Lynch.
This morning's guest played over 1,000 games in the NHL, Stanley Cup winner, Olympic gold medalist, and World Junior champion. But more recently, he can be described as a motivational speaker, best-selling author, singer-songwriter, and an advocate bringing awareness to the epidemic of sexual abuse towards children. Good morning, Theo Fleury.
Good morning, sir.
That was a long list of adjectives and descriptions to use on you. Is there anything I'm missing there?
No, I think you got it all covered, and I've been very blessed and very fortunate in my life to be surrounded by lots of great people who helped me succeed. So it's been an incredible journey, that's for sure.
There's no former player doing more good in their post-playing days than yourself, but I do want to touch on your playing career just to start off. And there's so much talk these days about the Olympic roster and who made the Canadian team and who didn't. And thinking back to your two Olympic appearances, in '98, you're basically a lock. There was never really an argument you're going to make that team. In 2002, in media and whatnot, it was being hashed over and debated whether or not you should be there. Is that something that really weighed on your mind as a player at the time? And a second part of that question is, did you ever pay much attention to who was being chosen, or were you not really worried about what Team Canada brass, who they took, that you were just going to roll with whatever teammates they brought for you?
I think when it comes to that type of, team and that type of tournament, a lot of the merit goes on how you're playing at the time. And, I'd gone through some tough times the year before. And, obviously I was removed from the NHL in February the year before. It really, took some time for myself and got myself in incredible shape. And, up until Christmas time in New York, I was playing with Eric Lindros and Mike York, and we'd become one of the best lines in hockey, and things were going well. So, the only thing you can control is how you're playing on the ice. You can't, control who picks what or whatever, but what you want is you always want them to have to make a tough choice and a tough decision. And obviously my relationship with Wayne Gretzky over the years, and having spent a bit of time with him and different events, All-Star games and Canada Cups and World Cups of hockey, I think Wayne saw something in me that maybe the media world doesn't see, and those are those intangibles that guys bring to the game that not necessarily are picked up by fans or media or whatnot. And I just remember Wayne giving me the call and saying, hey, you've been selected to the team, and we're excited to have you on the team, and we think that you're going to be an effective player for us. And after Wayne sticking his neck out for me and going to Salt Lake, I certainly didn't want to let him down. And I'm very proud of the way that I played during the Olympics, with all that controversy about the selection. And in the end, I have a gold medal to show for that.
Yes, you certainly do have a gold medal, and you also have a Stanley Cup ring, Theo. And taking back to early in your NHL career, when you won that Stanley Cup right here in Montreal, first opposing team to win the Cup in the Montreal Forum. And I'm just interested to hear your thoughts. Like, looking back on it now, did you appreciate at the time how hard that Cup was to win? Not thinking at the time that you were going to go on, that you wouldn't get another crack at the finals?
Yeah, well, when you're young, and the funny thing was, in the first, I guess, 18 months of my pro career after I signed my first NHL contract, I won a World Junior, a Turner Cup, which was the IHL championship. I went to Salt Lake after my season in Moose Jaw was done, and we won the championship down there. And then the year after that, won the Stanley Cup. So I won 3 rings in a matter of 18 months, and thought, geez, this is pretty incredible stuff. And with the team and the personnel we had in Calgary, I think probably you look back and it's probably a disappointment that, that we didn't string together at least another cup. We had the personnel definitely to do that.
And Theo, most Canadians now are aware of your life story, both during your playing career and beforehand and after, and it's due in large part to your best-selling book, Playing with Fire, that I believe it's 4 years ago now that book came out. And a few years back, I spoke with Kirsty McClellan-Day, who co-authored with you, and she told me about how the book came together. But obviously that wasn't an easy task to take on, and you bearing your soul for all of the world to read. Could you ever imagine that book and that process would lead to the advocacy that you're able to do today?
No, I had absolutely no idea what I was getting myself into, but obviously, you go about your life and you don't know really how many people you affect, and I just remember the first book signing in Toronto, and several people came through and all had incredible nice things to say, but there's one particular guy that comes to mind is he sat the book on the table and looked me right in the eye and said two words, and he said, "Me too." And I think that's when I realized that the reason and the purpose for writing the book was to sort of open up a new door for guys that had suffered childhood trauma in their life to be able to reveal those secrets, to me and to the world without shame, without guilt. And, then next thing I know, 3 other guys come to the table, and then I travel to Calgary, and, more reveals, and Lethbridge and Medicine Hat and Red Deer, and, the list goes on and on, Vancouver. And, before I know it, 500,000 people have revealed to me either, through Facebook or our website or walking down the street, that they too have also gone through exactly the same thing that I've gone through. And really, I think hockey was an important part of my life, but I really believe today I've found the purpose for my life, and that's to help as many people as I can get to where they need to go.
500,000 people, and that would be in less than 5 years, and that number is just going to continue to grow. And you certainly have the strength and the courage that to see that through going forward. That this is something that you're obviously not letting up on. That you embrace being the face of advocacy towards sexual abuse victims.
Yeah, and I don't like the word sexual abuse because people get uptight when you mention the word sex. Really when it comes down to is that it's all about trauma and how trauma affects all of us in our lives, and we have gone across country several times speaking and talking about the subject, and it has been an incredible journey. It has been an incredible experience. And, like you said, I'm not going to stop talking about this subject because I think it's extremely important. I believe it's the biggest epidemic we have on the planet. And, it's time for, the leaders of this country to get their heads out of the sand and deal with this problem head on. We seem to skirt around the issue, and we seem to skirt around the problem, and really, it's all about finding avenues for people to reveal those secrets that they've been carrying around, and provide places and opportunities for them to go do their healing work so that they can go on to have, happy, healthy, productive lives. That's really what it's all about.
we were talking about your advocacy, and a major part of that was the walk that you did last year, the Victor Walk last May, that took you from Toronto to the steps of Parliament Hill. I was fortunate enough to see you along your route. I coincidentally was in the Peterborough area at the time, and seeing the small town of Norwood embracing you, and the group that was of 6 or 7 walkers that was with you on your journey. And for those who aren't familiar with the Victor Walk, if you could speak a bit about exactly what it was, and also did it accomplish your goals?
Well, we sat down as a group and said, how can we bring awareness to this subject, and how can we do something that's going to, grab the attention of, Canadians? And so we decided, hey, why don't we just go on a walk? I think in our lives, when we're stressed out and when we're not feeling well or whatever, if you've ever gone on a good walk with a good friend, there's a lot that can be accomplished through that process. And, we just said, hey, let's just go on a walk and see what happens. And I can tell you, not only for myself, but, for the 6 other people that were on the walk, it was a life-changing experience to be a part of that. And I'm grateful for all the people that came and stopped along the side of the road and either walked with us or had a quick chat or donated to the charity. And, it really was incredible stuff.
And you mentioned earlier about politicians needing to get their head out of the sand. And are you optimistic that we will see change, and whether it's through exposure, like things like the Victor Walk, or just the general debate in Canada? And, we're not that far off from the 2015 election. Do you, what's your optimism level on things changing here in this country?
Well, I think the biggest thing is that, because judges aren't accountable for their decisions, there has to be a law passed, regarding, sexual abuse and trauma and, whatever type of abuse it is. Because if there's no accountability, then it's very difficult for us to see change happen. You can change the laws, but it's how, lawyers and judges interpret that law, The term sexual abuse came from a lawyer, smart lawyer, who used that word instead of using the real word, which is rape, because rape constitutes a tougher sentence, a longer sentence, and by softening it by using the word sexual abuse, has allowed these perpetrators to use that phrase and get linear sentences as opposed to somebody who raped somebody. So, we've got a long ways to go, but I've seen an incredible amount of change in a short period of time. There's a lot more awareness. There's a lot more education out there. There's a lot more information that you can find. There's groups popping up all over the place that are, beginning to help survivors, of this affliction they suffered. And the toughest thing is that, it really wasn't our fault. We were young, we were impressionable and innocent, and these perpetrators took away that innocence from us. And so it's a difficult thing for people to come to grips with, what's happened to them. And, then we see people gravitate to the dark side of life, which is, drugs and alcohol and gambling and sex and food addictions, and because, those emotional scars and the emotional pain that's left behind from those incidences.
And Theo, for just an everyday Canadian, what is the best course of action for somebody who wants to take, who realizes that the abuse is an epidemic in this country but really doesn't really know what the best avenue is for them to do, or whether it's, how they're to lobby for change, or what's the best platform for them to speak out. Somebody who wants to get involved in a movement like yours, what's your best recommendation for them?
Well, 1 in 3 girls and 1 in 5 boys before the age of 18 are sexually molested, in this country. So if you do, the quick math, that's 2/8. 2/8 is 1/4. 1/4 into the population of Canada there's 8.5 million survivors of child sexual abuse in this country. And how can we make the biggest impact is by having 8.5 million people vote in the next election all around the subject of, trauma and what we're going to do about it, and make the next election all about that.
And Theo, it's interesting that you make reference to the next federal election, as I'm interested to hear your thoughts on your discussions on a one-on-one basis with politicians. As I remember you saying a few years back about how there's a lot of politicians who want to talk to you, but they basically just want to talk hockey, and once a more uncomfortable conversation like abuse comes up, that they really don't want to continue the conversation in that direction. Is that still the case that you run into?
Absolutely. They want the picture for their Twitter feeds and Facebook pages, and when it comes time to talk about the subject, they become very, very, very uncomfortable. And but on the other side of the coin, a lot of them have expressed to me that their hands are tied because of the judges, that they don't have to be accountable for their decisions. So we really need to revamp the justice system in this country. I would like to see us go a little bit towards the way that they deal with these type of predators in the United States. You look at the Jerry Sandusky,
about 88 years, I think it was, Jerry Sandusky.
Yeah. And so things have to change, and they have to change at a government level first and foremost, because they write the laws, they pass the bills, and so I think it's important that when these politicians are out campaigning, is that you ask them those tough questions, and if they can't answer those tough questions, then are you really are you going to really vote for a guy like that who doesn't have the fortitude, so to speak, to make those changes and lobby for those 8.5 million voters out there that are still hurting and are looking for places to go and places to heal.
And Theo, you're up to so many different. There's so many different platforms you're using to get your message across, and you're doing the different workshops we mentioned earlier about your motivational speaking, and all of that is detailed on your website at theofleury14.com. And I commend you for all the great work that you're doing. Before I let you go, I do want to ask you one more hockey-related question, and it just goes back to a few years back. My wife and I were in Belfast, and on the way from the hotel to the airport in the morning, I guess the cabbie sensed that either I was a hockey fan or Canadian, or he was able to sense both pretty quickly. But he showed me a little Belfast Giants souvenir that he had dangling from his mirror, and he said, if you ever by chance run into Theo Fleury in Canada, he said, he's the reason that I love hockey so much. And I'm just interested to hear your thoughts on it was a few years removed from your NHL career, but what it was like to go over and play hockey in Belfast, Ireland. Belfast, Northern Ireland, I should say.
Well, it was just one of those things that happened by coincidence. A friend of mine had just bought a share in the Belfast Giants, and we were playing golf together one afternoon, and asked me what I was doing for the winter, and I said I didn't really have any plans, and he says, why don't you come to Belfast and play some hockey this winter? And it sounded like a great idea, and I can tell you it was an incredible experience to play hockey over in the UK, and especially in a city with as much history and whatnot as Belfast has, and you know, it was a great experience. The people are incredible. You know, they've had a professional league over there since 1940, after the First World War, where, you know, a bunch of Canadian soldiers, you know, met some British girls and got married and stayed there and started, you know, the British Ice Hockey League, and you know, they have an incredible following, and you know, there's lots of great franchises, and you know, it's fun. And you know, the Odyssey in Belfast, where the Giants play, is a brand new facility that holds about 6,000 people, and you know, it's fun to play there every night and be a part of it. So all in all, you know, I can say it was not only a good hockey experience, but I think, you know, the life experience was probably the thing that I enjoyed the most.
Yeah, and I just read that the franchise is flourishing, and they have a great record and great attendance this year. And Theo, thank you very much for your time. You know, it's been a pleasure talking to you. And growing up as a teenager in the 90s, you were certainly one of my favorite hockey players, but that all pales in comparison to everything that you're doing now. That you know, your hockey career is one thing, but I have the utmost respect and admiration for you for all the great that you're doing, and keep up the great work.
Well, I appreciate you giving me this opportunity to talk about you know, some tough stuff, and but you know, we need more. We need more of it. We need more awareness, because there's so many people out there that you know, like I said, need help, and you know, we're trying to do whatever we can to, you know, to provide that.
Thanks again.